I mean, it was shocking, and then it was not shocking in other ways because we knew he was in his health issues. He'd had some significant health issues since having neck surgery, yeah, I mean, he was just an iconic figure. He changed the entire game, the whole face of professional wrestling. The whole world of wrestling is totally different because of him and Vince McMahon. They just they were a team that really put pro wrestling, changed it from regional to national promotions, and he was one of the most charismatic figures, probably the most charismatic figure as far as like in the pro wrestling ring all over the world. He had an act, and the act worked. People loved it. And then when he was older, he changed the act up a little bit and was a big star as a heel too. So, as far as that goes, I mean, it's very controversial life to be sure in so many ways, but as far as like being someone who fans paid money to see, there was nobody bigger.
Yeah, and really larger than life, Dave, and I'm glad you talked about that because a lot of us will remember, Hulk Hogan and the impact that he had, sure, on the world of wrestling and the theatrics of it all, but also we talked about the television shows, we talked about the movies. Later in life, we're taking a look at it now, the political endorsement of President Trump, and, just this guy who, although he could have a very kind of in-your-face side, there was also a softer side to Hulk Hogan, or Terry Bollea, as his real name was. Your thoughts on the impact that he kind of had and has had really on pop culture beyond necessarily the wrestling ring?
Well, it's just something. I mean, it's like a guy everybody knows who's always been around. I mean, much bigger than most athletes in the sense of name recognition. And people know the act and the interview stuff. He's but yeah, I mean, it's just like you ask 100 people on the street at any time, anywhere in the world, name a pro wrestler outside of England, and most of them are going to say Hulk Hogan, even more than The Rock, who's a giant movie star today, but he's just in many people's eyes, like when they think of a pro wrestler, that's your guy.
Yeah, we're going to bring up the statement, if we can, issued by WWE, just to give a sense to our viewers of what they're saying about the passing of a man who was really a legend in the industry. Obviously, a lot of people are, wondering how this could have happened. And as you're saying, very suddenly as well. Was there an iconic moment that you can remember, Dave, for Hulk Hogan? I know there were a lot of them. Talked about Andre the Giant, talked about a number of these different things that people might remember. I remember, Hulkamania, right? That was huge. And also King Kong Bundy, and on it goes. Here he is with a much younger Donald Trump back in the day as well. A man who, there he is with Muhammad Ali as well. Your take, something that jumped out for you from his career?
There's just so much. I mean, I remember seeing him in the AWA, and just the crowd reactions that he would get was incredible, and the drawing power that he had. And then when he beat the Iron Sheik to win the WWF championship was a change, started the change in wrestling from regional to national. And if there was no Hulk Hogan, I don't know that WWF in this form would have made it. Vince had very big ambitions. But without Hulk Hogan, I don't know that he could have pulled it off. I mean, he was fighting a lot of different promotions and everything like that. Hogan was his ace in the hole, Take him out of wrestling and the business changes in a great way. It's hard to really envision it, how it would be, but he changed the history of the business. And then later when he turned heel, with WCW, I mean, that was the... at the Bash at the Beach. I mean, that was a giant moment again. It signaled the first time that WWF was actually number 2 for a little while in pro wrestling. And then he came back, WCW folded. He came back, had his kind of like some nostalgia matches and things like that. But, and then, I mean, the whole Gawker thing, when the videotape that they got on him, horrible thing for him. That was, later in life, he would go to the shows and he would be booed. But in the right circumstance, Republican convention, a lot of people didn't know that. So I think it was more, a lot of wrestling fans knew about it, but in the general public, maybe it wasn't as big. So, but yeah, he was starting a freestyle wrestling league right as we speak. They were about to do their first show August 30th. So, you know, he was going to go back as far as being the public face of an attempted wrestling startup in a very different way, you know, before his passing.
Dave, I really appreciate you taking the time and all of those insights here with us on CTV News in Canada and giving us your thoughts on the passing of Hulk Hogan. Super appreciate it. Thank you for this.
You're very welcome.